Hello and welcome to the webinar. Today we're at Cumbria County Council discussing digital transformation and the role low-code can play. And I'm delighted today to introduce you to Kate Hurr, the Digital and Innovation Manager at Cumbria. Hello, Kate.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks for taking us through your programme.
That's a pleasure. I thought it'd be useful just starting with a bit of an overview about Cumbria County Council. Most of you probably know about Cumbria from the Lake District, but Cumbria is actually the third largest county in the country. We have nearly 500,000 residents, making us the second least densely populated. We have a super ageing population. By 2029, over 50% of people will be over the age of 50, which is going to create some significant challenges around our social care provision. One of our other major challenges is our road network and our bridges, because it keeps raining and things keep getting damaged, and they're the main political motivators for our elected members. We've made £250 million of savings over the last 8 years. We've still got another 40 million to find, which is driving a lot of the activity that my team are involved in at the moment. In terms of digital transformation in Cumbria, I am the last person standing in many ways. I was brought in 2015 to write the council's first digital strategy. There was a huge rate of expectation on that strategy, which this slide tries to illustrate. There was no coherent plan for delivery, however, there was no budget behind it and there was no team. I was the only member of the digital team for probably 6 to 8 months before I actually managed to recruit some people in. We started with some real challenges around digital, but things have changed. We've got a new chief exec, we've got a new council plan that has digital transformation, one of the 4 key themes for delivery. We have a new customer strategy, which is at the heart of everything that the council has got in its council plan. And so we've almost flipped now. There's even more expectation on the work that we'll be doing as a team, combined with the amount of savings that there is a feeling that we can deliver through this programme of work. But the challenges are significant. Whoever you talk to has a slightly different perception of what digital can offer the authority. It's either about savings, or it's about customer journeys and solving some customer pain points, or it's about creating whole new ways of delivering services. So we're kind of trying to navigate through a lot of those challenges at the moment. And there's a lot of criticism that things aren't happening fast enough. So as a programme we started complete from scratch. The scope of the project has grown and changed over the last 3 years. We now encompass the development of our service centre, with our frontline facing service and customer transactions moving into a service centre model. We have the implementation of a new digital platform. I've also got the responsibility for transforming our website, all within the context of not a great deal of funding. So we've got £500,000 over the 3 years for the whole of the digital programme, which covers all of the activity that I've just mentioned. And we have a lot of cultural issues still, so we still get a lot of, we need an online form for doing something, rather than asking the more intelligent grown-up question about what that online form is actually going to deliver in the back end. One of the quotes that I use with my team a lot is around the fact that transformation and using digital technology is about how much of the processes or the ways of working you're willing to embrace and you're willing to change, and that drives all the activity that we're involved with as a team. That's a quote from Nestor, and as I say, that's one of the key principles that we try and embed as a team, that we're not just about using technology, it's about actually really challenging and really transforming the way that the services are being delivered in the authority. So why low code for doing that? Well, I've kind of explained that we've got a very limited budget. We did some market research, or I did some market research when I was looking at what ways we could deliver some of the digital strategy. We looked at some trends elsewhere and saw a case study around the work that was being done in Ada and Worthing, which kind of sparked our interest in the benefits of low code and made us look into that a bit further. Forrester research suggests that using low code can take 5 to 10 times less resource to accelerate your digital transformation projects. Well, again, given the fact that we've got a lot of criticism for not doing things fast enough, that was a real kind of tick in the box for that. Low code is fast to learn and easy to deploy, which meant that it could broaden the potential base of people able to use it. Again, I've not got a lot of budget to pay for staff, so I've got to think about how we can grow a solution to be used by as many people as possible, and it needs to be done quickly. And coinciding with that, from our IT team within the authority, there is a drive to do as much application rationalisation across the council as possible, and we've got hundreds of applications used in different services, and there's a recognition that they all do little bits of jobs, whereas they could potentially be combined to look at core components of services. So again, low code seemed to offer a solution to looking at some of that as well. So we invested in a low code platform. Is it working? Absolutely, it's working. we've delivered some solutions really quickly. So we only really started delivering solutions from October last year. Development timescales have been enormously reduced, and I'll touch on a couple of pilot case studies in a minute. We're already seeing process improvements and the release of capacity from those processes. We haven't released any staff in yet, but a lot of that capacity has been released to actually do some value-adding work, which is really important for us as an authority. Stakeholder engagement in the process has been a real benefit for us, and one that I perhaps naively didn't anticipate when we went into the programme. And when I'm talking stakeholders, really, I'm talking internal stakeholders at the moment, but we're making real connections with the service areas we're working with. The teams that we're working with are really embracing a different way of approaching software development, so they're being involved in it from start to finish. They're not delivering functional specs that then go off and vanish into a dark room for 6 months and they get something back that wasn't really what they wanted. They're involved every step of the journey and every step of the improvement. They're working with us to do that, and that's creating a real buzz with the teams. We are embracing agile. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll change it as we go. We'll deliver things quickly that deliver a benefit in a much shorter time scale. If it's not absolutely right, that's fine. We can change it, we can iterate, we can improve. And again, that's going down really well with services who are getting much quicker wins from the processes we're working on. And we're doing all that with just a team of 4 of us. So in terms of the volume of work we're getting through, the low-code platform that we're using has enabled us to deliver so much more with such limited capacity that it's been fantastic.
So Kate, you were speaking about stakeholder engagement. Do you think that there's a better outcomes-focused approach now? That the focus isn't on the project, the focus is on what it's going to deliver?
Absolutely. So we don't spend weeks and weeks and weeks building a technical specification for a system. We do some user stories, we talk to the services, we're trying to engage service users in that, and we build something, we prototype it, we test it, and then we see what improvements that can deliver, rather than trying to build this perfect system. It's all about, is there a better result for the customer?
So saying that, then it's customer focused from the beginning?
Absolutely.
Some people talk about same room design or designing with a customer in mind. So that's not a term you hear very often in a waterfall project, because it's about getting the project going. Do you think that being agile has enabled you to switch to that?
Completely. And the way that the services are talking about customers and users within the processes, and my team are kind of always focusing on getting the user feedback, and it's definitely changed mindsets in terms of the way we're approaching that development. It's been really fascinating to watch.
So you can almost take the digital out of the transformation and focus just on what do you want to change, how do you want to change it,
absolutely,
and what is going to be the customer benefit.
Absolutely. So the technology that we're using is an enabler to deliver outcomes focused improvements for customers. It's not an irrelevance, because it's enabling us to do things so much differently, but it's meaning people are focusing on making their services better, not about the technology they're using to deliver something.
That's stunning. Thanks very much.
So a couple of pilot processes. So we started out with blue badges, and they're not particularly glamorous, skips and scaffolding permits. Skips and scaffolding is a really good example of how this has worked incredibly well for the service area. It took us 12 weeks from the initial discussion with the service to actually going live with a new solution for skips and scaffolding permits for approved contractors to apply for skips. It's enabled us to replace a module of a larger system, which means we won't need to pay for the support costs for that module. It's been able to address a couple of issues that staff were having around being out in the field and being able to photograph skips and to provide evidence of where things weren't working properly. We also had a huge amount of challenge around the inspection of skips, because there was a particular company who felt they were being hard done by because they were being targeted for inspections. We were built in an automation now, so the system automatically tells us which skips to inspect. There's absolutely no question of bias against particular companies anymore, and it means the inspectors don't have to worry about it. The system will just automatically flag up when a skip needs inspected. And it's released capacity. They're due to have some changes in the streetworks legislation that's coming in the next couple of months. They were thinking they might have to employ more staff to enable them to process the work, and now they've realised that they've released enough capacity from changing this process that they won't have to do that. So we've not made a cost saving there, but we've kind of the opportunity cost of not having to employ more people. It's just been a fantastic project. project, my member of staff that was involved with that was a non-technical member of staff. He just was good at sitting and working with the business area to build a process, and he was nominated for an Internal Excellence Award by the service on the back of that, which is a fantastic example, I think, of how we've worked in conjunction with other people.
It's an excellent reference point that the internal service thought it was so good that they'd nominate the person.
Yeah, and that's almost unheard of for an IT solution development, so they're proud of that one. Blue badges, again, a totally different service area. We decided that with the changes that were being made nationally, that we would take control of the whole process back in-house, so we would no longer use the central badge form for blue badge applications. We would build our own, which we did in 14 weeks. It has integrations with the central badge record for the issuing of badges. We've also got integrations with Gov UK Pay so that people can pay for their badges online through that. We've seen a much quicker issue of badges. It's released some capacity from processes and having to use multiple systems. We've saved a huge amount of capital and revenue cost in terms of having to invest in a system to record the details of the blue badges internally, and we've got some really good feedback from customers on that process.
So now, with relation to Blue Badge, do you think that being able to design your own process will help you with these new thought processes around hidden disabilities?
Absolutely. So we've got full control of our system. So we're just at the moment working on making the changes for hidden disabilities. We don't have to wait for anybody to provide that for us. We're just doing that all in-house, and we've been able to do that and iterate and change that over the last few weeks.
And I also heard something about auditing, and that it's easier for you to audit your processes now.
Completely. So we have a full audit trail in the system. We have a huge amount of reporting in the system as well, which has been really beneficial. So we're seeing some huge benefits on that.
Thanks, Kate.
Finally, and not one that I would necessarily suggest that anyone develops anything in 4 weeks, because it was quite pressurised, but this was based on timescales for a cheapy transfer of staff coming from an external organisation back into authority, so we only had 4 weeks and we had to deliver. But we've produced a new household waste recycling permit scheme solution, which is for commercial waste and commercial vans to take items to the tip. Again, it's a full end-to-end system. We've automated a lot of the processes and the notifications to customers, and we've also just recently integrated that with the DVSA's MOT data, so that we can people don't have to enter they just have to put in the registration plate for their vehicles, and it brings up all their details, and it makes that easier for both the administration of that system and for customers. But we're also working on a huge range of other stuff, which, bearing in mind there's the team of 4, I think should illustrate the kind of benefits that we've got through working with low code. We've not only delivered those systems, but we're also developing a customer experience management solution, which will be integrated with our telephony solution. We're developing business and residence portals. The business portal actually went live on Friday. So Skips companies have again been involved in building that portal so that they can apply for their own skips, and they have a shopping basket and they can pay for multiple permits. So that's kind of meaning that they don't have to go through this application process every time they're doing something, which is proven to be really beneficial already. And we're developing our residence parking permit scheme, and that's due to go live in the autumn. We've got a range of further highways related permits, because the rest of the service have seen how successful skips and scaffolding have been. They're coming at us with requests left, right and centre for all kinds of things, so we're looking at a range of other services there. We are developing a service for our archives team, where people will be able to book slots to go in to look at documents in the archives service, so they can get the documents ready and know when people are coming in, which again helps to ease some of their workload pressures, but also means that they can be better prepared for people coming and looking at particular documents. And we're also working on a new complaints, freedom of information, subject access request resolution system, which is a huge priority for us politically, internally. And as I've said, the feedback is massively encouraging. So a couple of quotes there from people. The first one is from a member of staff who was so impressed with everything that she's seen through the system. And the second one is a customer saying that they've they basically saying that it was the best form they've ever used, which is really, really great. But I'm not going to deny that it's hard work. There is still a culture of wanting a specific system to do a specific thing, and there's still services who go to IT and want their own solution to do a little bit of their job. So we've got a massive job to do in terms of convincing people that they don't need that every time. But we're starting to make inroads, because the more that people see the solutions that we're delivering, the more they can recognise the benefits and kind of want to get involved in it. So we are changing that, but it's still there. We're the digital team, but I think it's massively misleading. We're actually a multidisciplinary team using the technology we've got to support service redesign, and that's a really important point to stress. We do service redesign. We have a low-code platform that supports us to do that, but it's about service redesign. And low code doesn't mean no code. We've still got some very technical members of staff within the team who are working on the platform, but it is broadening access. But we're still going to need to train people up to use it properly. And it's a massive challenge to the status quo. It's a challenge to the way that we've delivered IT systems in the past. It's a challenge to management. It's a challenge to services who are stuck in their ways and want to do things the way they've always done them. So we're kind of dealing with multiple fronts to challenges there. But we're starting to make inroads, because people are getting so positive about the benefits that are being realised by these teams that have started to use the system. And in terms of what we've got next, so we're looking for opportunities to accelerate with other people using low code. We're looking for where we can share our own applications and collaborate with other people who are facing some of the same challenges across their services. We're looking at identifying the common components of systems we're using, so to support the rationalisation, to support the conversations about people wanting a specific thing to do, a specific task. We're actually looking at where there are commonalities across all of those and where we can start to build some of that functionality for people. We're doing user engagement, but we want to do more, so how do we increase the rate of user engagement in our process redesign? Ultimately, which is a really important point, is there is an ambition to widen the access to low code across as many people as possible, so that people can start to develop their own processes, can support their own processes. That has to be done with appropriate training. I think my team would probably shoot me if they heard me saying this, because they are worried about losing that control, losing the quality of the work. So it has to be done right, and it has to be done with the right governance. However, what we're developing are services that are intrinsic to people's delivery of their own work and their own services. So we want to be able to upskill them and enable them to make their own changes so that they can really own the process. And we need to train and support them and make sure that we quality assure all of that. But ultimately, that's the direction we want to head in, because then it also means that in terms of capacity, we're broadening the number of people that can use the platform.
Kate, thank you very much. That's been very interesting, and we look forward to hearing more about your story a bit later in the autumn.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.